All right, I've been promising we've been doing this one, so we're going to make it happen. It's the top four or Mount Rushmore of WWF wrestlers. Specifically, I'm going to go with face wrestlers because that's the good guys. We'll get to the bad guys here in the future, but do me a favor, give this episode a thumbs up. And if you're brand new, if you like this type of content, do me a favor, subscribe, because subscriptions are great and you can get notified whenever I do these things, which I'm going to try to do 2 to 3 times a week because these are super fun to do and I like doing them. So F off if you don't like them. Okay, so I'm going to be counting down my my Mount Rushmore of WWF before we got the F out. Faces, good guys during the Attitude Era. Very specific, but some would say the absolute best era of wrestling. Of course it is. It was amazing. This is the best era. So let's get into this bad boy. Once again, I think there's one on here that's going to kind of surprise you, so make sure you stick around all the way through. And some that you'll look at and be like, for shame, plebe. Of course they're on the list, you idiot. So let's get into it. Number 4 on my list, Mick Foley. Look at that sadistic son of a gun. Cactus Jack. Oh my God. Mick Foley, do love the man of 3. He entered the Royal Rumble 3 times. 3 times as one person, which is such a cool little bit. But the barbed wire bat, he had this sadistic nature to him. He was a guy that you had to watch wrestling for. I mean, getting thrown off the top of a cage, obviously the iconic moment from Hell in a Cell. I remember watching that as a kid and being like, holy crap, was that for real? Yes, it was for real. And Jim Ross's call on that, man, oh man, was amazing. So he obviously had the human whoopee cushion aspect to him going on, but he also had the comedic element to it. That's one thing that Mick Foley has always had, whether he's been playing Santa in his post-wrestling career or not. But he also had the highest rated segment in WWF or Raw history of This Is Your Life, The Rock's birthday segment. If you go back and watch this segment is actually kind of hunky-dory, like kind of stupid, but it's just like a nice little feather in the cap of Mick Foley here as he comes down and he's supposed to be being the Rock. Is when the Rock and Sock connection is happening, and the Sock with the mandible claw. He's here trying to get the Rock's approval this entire time and be his best friend. And he's got his teacher coming down, and the Rock's asking if she likes pie, and it's just stupid and fun and juvenile, and it's amazing, and I love everything about it. But obviously his creme de la creme moment was when he won the WWF title. Bam! Talk about getting picked up by DX and carted around. Actually won this. The only reason I know this is because I watched a video recently about the Finger Poke of Doom. I believe it was a great documentary series on YouTube. Yeah, I'm sure you can find it. But this was actually on a pre-recorded version of Raw. It was the same night the Finger Poke of Doom in WCW happened. And this was the infamous moment where Tony Schiavone said, we just want to let you know that Mick Foley's going to win the WWF title. Yeah, it's going to put some butts in the seats. And it's pretty and it literally changed. They said 500,000 people switched over to WWF to watch this happen. And what was amazing about this was early internet days. This was like 1998, 1999, I think January 1999, right? So WWF actually announced that this was going to happen ahead of time so people would tune in, and it had monster ratings. So it was really, really cool to see Mick Foley win his title, and I loved watching wrestling. Anytime that car crash hit, you knew you were in for a fun time because Mick Foley was an outstanding wrestler and an even better entertainer. All right, speaking of, now this one may piss people off, but this is my list, damn it, on my number 3 of Mount Rushmore of WWF wrestlers. And I'm not gonna say he's number 3 from a face perspective, but I always just love this guy's gimmick. It's so stupid. In the same vein as like Val Venus and all these fringe characters that was like, I'm a 16, 17-year-old kid watching wrestling at the time, and I loved Al Snow. Let's go. What does everybody want? Head. Just such a funny gimmick. Al Snow, the leader of the Job Squad from the old ECW days, came over and really honed his gimmick when he found Head. I think that was just the mannequin's name, and he had "Help Me" on it, and he was just this crazed lunatic, which I always thought was so fun and so stupid. And I'm not saying I tune in every single week to watch Al Snow, but every time his music would pop on, I'd pop off. I'd be like, yeah, Al Snowhead. And I remember, I talk about how we used to watch wrestling as a basketball team back in the day. I remember this guy, Matt Hins. It was his name. Matt was like super obsessed with him. And I think at one point he actually brought up some mannequin heads just because he thought it was so funny. But he talked to this crazy character. You always need a crazy character when it comes to wrestling. All right, let's get to the blue chippers now, the true blue chippers, and there can only be one blue chipper when I'm talking about the top faces from the WWE Attitude Era. The great one, the man they actually named a show after, The Rock. Now, if you look at The Rock nowadays, he doesn't look anything like this, which is amazing because he was on steroids then, and surely he's on steroids now. And if you don't think he's on steroids, I said this before, you're an absolute idiot. The Rock is, of course, on steroids, but it doesn't matter because he's an entertainer, and man, oh man, did he entertain. The Rock, whether he was wearing this outfit or the full black attire with the Adidas stripes down the side, or whether he'd come down with the glasses on or the fancy $1 million shirts or whatever, the $10,000 shirts, The Rock always knew how to entertain. This was the era where catchphrases really took off. And the Rock was a master, obviously, of the millions. I know, and you're going, and millions of catchphrases that The Rock had. I dressed as The Rock for Halloween one year. It was great. Nowadays, that'd probably be seen as cultural appropriation. But I had the I had the giant sideburns. What a great product of the 90s those were, man. The lamb chops or pork chops or whatever they were called that came all the way down. And this was pre-crazy tattoo on his shoulder here and getting super lean for being a movie star and steroiding out. But The Rock, look, we all know he was the best. He started as the blue chipper, and he was able to turn his entire career around, starting with the Nation of Domination and then turning on them and just going and elevating himself to what some may see quite possibly one of the best wrestlers of all time, at least entertainers for sure. And I don't think anybody can argue that The Rock from WWF in the early aughts and late 2000s or late 1990s was must-watch television. Between him and Triple H and The Undertaker and Austin, like, what a stacked lineup that was. Those characters were outstanding. They had so much fun every week. And, like, he was so sexual and talking about pie and poontang. And I do not think that the Rock character could get over today if he started new. Now, he's a legacy character, so people know what to expect whenever the Rock shows up. But now he's kind of more this badass type character, and he's, comes out at WrestleMania with flamethrowers and shit. I did that a few years ago. So, but now he obviously... There have been talks, I think, of him coming back, like to wrestle one more time or something. It doesn't make any sense at all, but whatever. Either way, I think The Rock was must-see TV, and I know it was for millions of other people as well. Listen, these are easy right here. These are obviously easy. Before we get to number one, I want to know what your list is. Please go down in the comments. Let me know who your top WWF faces were during the Attitude Era, because that's what this list is about. Once again, we're only talking about good guys. I mean, by the way, The Rock was a bad guy so many times, but he was always such a cool bad guy, and he got the crowd over. But I always liked him when he was a good guy. So let's get to number one on my list of the Mount Rushmore of WWF Attitude Eras. Was there ever any doubt, you dummies? Stone Cold, Stone Cold, Stone Cold. You're damn right. Of course. Look. This is the iconic picture, man. The iconic picture that was on, I think, the wrestling Dreamcast game, WWF Attitude. Remember playing that? I remember playing that in the arcade. I worked at GameWorks, and we had that WWF Attitude arcade game where it had pretty much all these wrestlers in it. I think it actually had Al Snow and Mankind and Ken Shamrock. God, Ken Shamrock. I think Ken Shamrock was whatever. But there was nobody more badass than Stone Cold Steve Austin. And the fact that he's coming back for WrestleMania is interesting, to say the least, after 19 years off. But do I want to see it? Not really. Will I watch it? Probably the archive once it hits YouTube. But this guy lived and breathed this gimmick. And you talk about a guy who started off as something like the ringmaster and the $1 Million Champion and all that stuff, to really just go in and cut that one promo about 316 saying, I'm going to kick your ass. And really owning the gimmick from beginning to end and just looking like a hard-ass son of a gun. Think about this. This guy went from stunning Steve Austin and the Hollywood Blondes to shaving his head, reinventing himself, and just being a total hard-ass. What a stud. What a great character. And to hear his stories on his podcast, I love it. I love everything about it. This guy, not just WWF Attitude Era faces of all time. He may be the top good guy in history of WWE, which is amazing because he was never really a good guy. He just came out and he kicked ass, and he was the anti-hero, which was so fun and exciting to watch every week. And, you know, coming down and doing things like the beer truck and seeing Vince McMahon totally sell it. Once again, it doesn't matter if the beer truck doesn't come down, if Vince McMahon's not trying to swim in the beers that's getting sprayed on. By the way, do we have any proof that was actually beer, or was it just like brown looking water? Because I don't know. I've always been intrigued the idea of them actually going down and spraying the ring with beer and that all getting in the audience and the liability attached to that. But I guess that was before they were like a publicly traded company and all that stuff. So anyways, I would love to hear your list. Look, you can't go wrong. Well, I mean, you can go wrong. But there are so many great characters of good guys back in the day when it came to WWF. And the Attitude Era in particular. I will definitely do a heels video on this in the future. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up. Share yours in the comments because this is about... listen, I've so enjoyed reading your comments and your takes on these things. So make sure you get on in there and let me know. And subscribe for more of these Mount Rushmore videos. Hey, man, Stuttering Craig's Mount Rushmore. You know it's going to be fun, right? Let's get on it. I'll see you guys next time. Once again, I'm going to try to do these 3 times a week, maybe 2. We'll see what happens. The more you like, the more you subscribe, the more will happen. We'll leave it at that. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.